Who killed John Fitzgerald Kennedy? 6 decades on, people still have their doubts. The Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated the late American president, that there was only one killer. But new revelations refute this. They indicate that there was in fact a second killer. A Secret Service agent who witnessed JFK's assassination has now come out and relayed his version of the story. But before we get to that, let's recall what happened in the public eye. What horror unfolded before the people of Dallas on November 22nd back in 1963. JFK and his wife Jackie sat in a black Lincoln Continental. Their motorcade was led by 2 open-top limousines. It was proceeding at a stately pace through a street lined with people. The President and the First Lady were waving at onlookers. The motorcade was heading towards what was known locally as a triple underpass. Suddenly, JFK was seen clutching his throat. Jackie leant over to attend to him. An instant later, it looked like a lightning bolt struck JFK's head. It was blown up and thrown back. Jackie frantically crawled over the rear seat of the open car and climbed onto its rear deck. She was grasping at something. It was later described as a piece of her husband's shattered skull. Such a harrowing moment. People saw it with their own eyes. In fact, at least 4 people caught it on camera. The most vivid version is that captured by a dressmaker named Abraham Zapruder. A lot of people watched it, but the full version wasn't out until 12 years later. The exact moment in which the bullet strikes Kennedy's head was kept hidden for more than a decade. Why? Because it was too gory to handle. Now you can watch it on YouTube. In the clip, it seemed that the blast came from in front of JFK and blew his head backwards. But it was dismissed as an optical illusion. The Warren Commission concluded that JFK's assassin, Oswald, was positioned behind him. It said that Kennedy was hit from behind. He slammed his chin forward to his chest, and then his head rebounded backwards. But what if? What if there was a possibility that the shot did come from the front? Oswald was standing at the back. He fired shots from a 6th-floor window in the Texas school book depository. But was there another gunman positioned in the front of Kennedy? Well, ex-Secret Service agent Paul Landis believes there was. Where exactly, he's not sure. On the day of Kennedy's assassination, a 28-year-old Landis was assigned to protect the First Lady. He was riding on the running board of a black Cadillac behind the presidential limousine. That is when a shot rang out. He soon heard a second one and saw the president's head split open. This he had spoken about earlier, but what I'm about to tell you now are the revelations that he has made after 50 years of silence. On the day of Kennedy's assassination, Landis spotted an intact bullet in the back of the presidential limousine. On finding the bullet, he reportedly pocketed it. He didn't want it to fall into the hands of souvenir hunters or the press. Landis accompanied First Lady Jackie Kennedy into the Dallas hospital as surgeons fruitlessly tried to save her husband's life. Landis found himself next to the president's stretcher. At the end, only one bullet was found, that too on Governor John B. Connolly's stretcher, who was also injured in the incident. Now, the Warren Commission's theory says that Kennedy and the governor were hit by the same bullet, that one of the bullets fired that day entered Kennedy's body from behind, then exited through his throat before striking Governor Connolly. But Landis believes that the bullet he found had only hit Kennedy. If his theory is correct, it could indicate that Connolly was hit by an entirely different bullet, perhaps by one fired by someone besides Lee Harvey Oswald. Initially, the public largely accepted the Warren Commission's version. 87% of Americans polled by Gallup agreed that Oswald shot the former president. But criticism mounted over the next decade or so. It peaked in the late 1970s with the release of the Zapruder film we just told you about. Fast forward to 2017, 61% of adult Americans believe that more than one person was involved in Kennedy's assassination. So, were there 2 gunmen involved? What do you think? These are all, after all, just conspiracy theories. We can only speculate. The lone gunman theory still remains the accepted conclusion. But I ask again, what do you think? Shifting our focus to the India-Canada row. Canada alleged India's involvement in Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar's death. Its allegations were very much public, but now It wants private talks. Why? What has changed? Yesterday, reports said that India has asked Canada to withdraw 41 diplomats. Ottawa has 6 days from now to do so. After that, India will revoke their diplomatic immunity. The reasons that New Delhi has given for this reduction are fair. Canada has 62 diplomats in India. India has only 20 of them in Canada. Apart from the Canadian High Commission in New Delhi, Canada has consulates in Chandigarh, Bengaluru and Mumbai. It also has a total of 8 Trade Commissioner Service offices in New Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Chandigarh, Chennai, Kolkata, Hyderabad and Mumbai. India, on the other hand, has a High Commission in Ottawa and 2 consulates in Toronto and Vancouver. Of the 20-odd Indian diplomats stationed in Canada, only 12 are in Ottawa, while India has 3 offices in Canada. Canada has 12 of them in India. So India simply wants a diplomatic strength to be equal on both sides, in both countries. It only wants to bring parity. So what is wrong in that? I'm not the one saying this. A couple of weeks back, India's Ministry of External Affairs mentioned this. Spokesperson Arindam Bakshi said, and I quote, "We have informed the Canadian government that there should be parity in strength and rank, equivalence in mutual diplomatic presence. Their numbers here are very much higher than ours in Canada." So what are so many Canadian diplomats doing here in India anyway? Are they here just for appeasement? Now Canada has urged for private talks with India. Why? Does it not have anything public to say? Dear Canada, you made allegations in public and you want resolution in private. How is this justified? Is Canada trying to save face now because its case against India doesn't hold? We are still waiting for Mr. Trudeau to support this so-called credible allegation with some evidence. And whose side is America on? It has had a lot to say lately. The White House has said that the Canadian allegations against India are serious. It has even urged India to cooperate with Canada in its investigations. Let me now read out the whole statement. The U.S. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said, "We've been clear these allegations are serious, they need to be fully investigated. And of course, as we've said before, we urge India to participate actively in that investigation." Yes, indeed, the allegations are serious. That is why we have been asking for evidence. On what grounds did Canada point fingers at India? India's foreign minister has said this multiple times. India is open to looking into anything relevant and specific that Canada may put forward. What more cooperation do the US and Canada want? Ottawa needs to do its part first, present some proof, some evidence, some facts. State Department's Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel also made some remarks. He says, and I quote again, "We continue to be deeply concerned about the allegations referenced by Prime Minister Trudeau and we remain in regular contact with our Canadian partners. It is critical that Canada's investigation proceeds and perpetrators be brought to justice. We also have publicly and privately urged the Indian government to cooperate in the Canadian investigation." Again, I ask, what kind of cooperation is the US expecting from India? Cooperate on what exactly? You see, any investigation is based on facts. You can't probe allegations and hearsay. So America needs to stop intervening and picking sides and focus on its own crises. How about asking Canada to provide some evidence, to release concrete proof to back its claims? Will the US request Canada to do so? I have my doubts. In fact, Washington has voiced support for Canada. The National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the spat has not caused any friction between the United States and Canada. So let me get this straight. When it comes to countering China, the US wants India's support. When it comes to sanctioning Russia, the US wants India to follow suit. But when it comes to backing India, it is leaning towards the other side. That's hypocritical, to say the least. Our next story is from Pakistan. Earlier today, it announced a rather controversial decision, a decision to deport illegal Afghan immigrants. Pakistan wants them to go back, leave its soil by October end. The decision was announced earlier today by Pakistan's Interior Minister, Sarfaraz Bukti. Addressing a press conference, he said, and I quote, "Afghan nationals would have to leave the country by the end of the month, whether voluntarily or through a forced deportation. If they do not go, then all the law enforcement agencies in the provinces of federal government will be utilized to deport them. Now that's an eviction notice. It's a strongly worded statement. The question is, how many Afghans will this decision impact? Well, last we checked, there are around 1.3 million Afghans who were registered as refugees in Pakistan. Another 880,000 have received the legal status to remain in Pakistan, and this is according to the United Nations. But Pakistan's Interior Minister says that there are another 1.7 million people, 1.7 million Afghans who are living in Pakistan illegally. He says all of them will have to go. The question is, what has triggered this statement? The growing terror attacks in Pakistan, the ongoing border dispute with the Taliban, the influx of Taliban fighters into the TTP? Well, Pakistan has refused to give an exact reason. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out what motivated Islamabad's decision. A concoction of all the questions that I just asked. If we speak of terror attacks, they've risen in number, colossally so. Reports say Pakistan saw a 79% increase in terror attacks this year when compared to 2022. As of today, there have been more than 271 terror attacks. They've claimed the lives of 389 people and injured 656 others. Of course, these attacks cannot be attributed to Afghan nationals, but most of them were orchestrated by the TTP, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, an offshoot of the Afghan Taliban which wants to enforce the Sharia law in the country. Reports say scores of Taliban fighters are slowly joining the TTP's ranks. Does this explain the spike in terror attacks? It seems so. Besides this, the situation at the Pakistan-Afghanistan border remains tense. In the last 10 months, there have been at least 4 major incidents when the Taliban has clashed with Pakistani troops. This has led to several border checkpoints getting shut, with Afghan nationals blaming Pakistan for upending their lives. My point is simple. There seems to be a growing anti-Pakistan sentiment within Afghanistan. The frequent clashes between the Taliban and Pakistan, the influx of Taliban fighters into the country, even Afghanistan's decision to ban the Pakistani rupee. They're all a testimony to this growing sentiment. But this cannot be the basis for Pakistan to deport Afghan refugees. At least that's what the Taliban is saying. It is calling Pakistan's decision unacceptable. Its spokesperson, Zabihullah Mujahid, has issued a statement. He has urged Pakistani authorities to revisit this policy. Allow me now to quote his exact words. The behavior of Pakistan against Afghan refugees is unacceptable. The Pakistani side should reconsider its plan. Afghan refugees are not involved in Pakistan's security problems. As long as they leave Pakistan voluntarily, that country should tolerate them. Now, last we checked, Pakistan's Foreign Office was yet to comment on the matter, but some Pakistani lawmakers and activists are voicing their opinions on the issue, and not in the kindest of words. For instance, this is what People's Party Senator Fatahullah Babar posted online. He says the decision is bound to end in a backlash. Allow me to quote, "Once again playing football with refugees, once again manipulating for some other objectives, once again angry knee-jerk reactions, doomed to end in a backlash. Tripartite agreement allows only voluntarily repatriation." The United Nations has also issued a statement. It says, "We have seen disconcerting press reports about a plan to deport undocumented Afghans, and we are seeking clarity from our government partners. Any refugee return must be voluntary and without any pressure to ensure protection for those seeking safety." So now we've told you what's happening, and you've seen the reactions. Let me now ask a question. Is this the end of Pakistan's dream, its dream of strategic depth against India? Its dream of using the Taliban as a proxy against India? I mean, 2 years back, when the Taliban returned to Kabul, Pakistan celebrated its return. It sang songs praising the Taliban. Many Pakistani even unfurled Taliban's flags. And 2 years on, the same Taliban is picking fights with Pakistan. The same Pakistan is asking Afghans to leave. How do we view this? Is Pakistan staring at an abyss of its own making? Is it struggling to deal with the monster that it created? It certainly is. On the other hand, you have India. Look how cordial India's ties with the Taliban are. India is sending tons of wheat to the Taliban. It is helping authorities rebuild the country. It is even training Taliban officials in diplomacy. No one could have seen this coming. A group fed and nurtured by the cantonments of Rawalpindi and Quetta. Being cordial with the country, the same cantonments wanted it to fight. It only proves that no matter which regime Pakistan installs in Afghanistan, Afghans are going to be Afghans. The only ones they listen to are themselves. Do you want to look younger? How much are you willing to change yourself just to look young? In the age of morphed AI images and trends, artificial intelligence is now giving people a rather strange gift. You can now alter your appearance without surgery. A new trend called the AI yearbook trend lets you imagine how you would look if you were popular in school. AI can change your skin color, alter blemishes, and remove whatever you feel is undesirable. It basically makes you someone you are not. Isn't that sad? Where is the self-love army now? Our next report tells you more.
Wanting to feel young again is nothing new. Earlier, people have used makeup or editing tools to look younger in pictures. But would changing your whole personality be a good way to go? Although AI edits are not something new, a new social media trend called the AI yearbook trend has got social media talking. Look at these pictures. These are AI edits. Edits of people who look completely different in reality. A new tool gives users a chance to reinvent their high school avatars. Had blemishes as a high school teen? Gone. Had acne? A double chin? Poof! Gone. What's sad about this trend is that it reimagines you as something you never were. The AI makes the user look like the popular kid, like a jock or a fashionista. In fact, the trend lets you change several aspects of your face to an extent where even your family may not recognize you. Thousands of people are loving the trend. But what does this tell you about self-acceptance? Would such trends make people shallow? In the age of body positivity, do these trends just praise the contrary? These questions should be asked to the owners of the photo editing app Epic. Epic's software uses AI to convert ordinary images into traditional yearbook-style images. The software carries out more than just minor edits. It can change haircuts, clothing, frames, and facial expressions. This is not the first time that an AI filter software has made waves. But now we're going from adding only a few details to completely changing body compositions. And how difficult is it for a person to use? It's actually too easy. Get the photo editor app, go to the AI yearbook option, upload your selfie collection, specify your gender, click the Create Yearbook Images button, select and refine your photo, and then just finalize the photo with a tap. And just like that, you're not you anymore. We're not saying that the innovation is all bad, but there is a dark side to the trend. It could have a severe impact on a person's self-esteem. All of us feel the need to cover up a few blemishes in a picture. There was makeup for that earlier. Now technology is making us erase everything we don't like. We can't lose our identity in order to beautify a photo. Studies show that 80% girls are using AI to modify their pictures. The shocking part is that girls as young as 13 are doing it. Now we have a generation which is growing up on the internet. Should we let AI tell them what acceptable beauty standards are? Will social media trends chip away your self-esteem?
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.